Well, that is just about as interesting as the last 3 episodes of Agatha all along. I want to talk
Let's
about.
do it.
I want to get I want this to be more focused on the 3rd episode, but
Okay.
I want to kind of cover the first 2, and I'm very curious because you and I have not talked about it at all. We haven't mentioned it. We haven't talked about it. This was very much off the cuff.
Yeah. Outside of your earlier posts that you did, that we'll talk about that.
Yeah.
And blowback.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
entertaining.
I love it.
Yeah. Let's do it.
So initially, let's just cover quick the first episode. Initially, what were your thoughts, but also what were you expecting, if anything, going into it?
So I have learned with Marvel and Star Wars to not expect anything. Like really over the last few years I've gone and I've just kind of blunted with franchises in general. I'm just kind of expecting and if I feel something, then I'll take it. You know, like I've become that person that's like, yeah, good enough, whatever.
Yeah.
I was entertained. I ate popcorn, and then I went to sleep. Yay.
That's a terrible way to live.
When it comes to those things. And then if it's actually great, then I go, oh, wow, this is actually fun. You know. So that's how I came into this. I enjoyed WandaVision as well. I love that second Doctor Strange movie. It's trashy fun for me.
Yeah.
A lot of people didn't like what they did to Wanda. I was like, yeah, but she was a fun, cool villain that had complexity. So in the context of that movie, I was fine with it.
A semi-irrelevant, semi-unknown character, unless she was kind of like this cult character. Like there were certain people who were like, I love Scarlet Witch, but she served a purpose in the comics. She wasn't the main character. You know, there was a purpose for her being in this bigger world, but she's not what Wolverine has become or something like that, you know?
Yeah, she's
and
not
that's
like
okay.
a cultural touchstone. In the comics, she has a giant moment where she wipes out mutants with some words, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, she's like this over here character. And then WandaVision, and I think I know your irritation with the first episode. So like WandaVision does a very good job of visually telling you that it's kind of parody a little bit, right? That it's like, we're doing 50s. We're doing the history of television. We're going to jump through the decades. We're going to go from kind of Leave It to Beaver, Honeymooners era, you know, to Brady Bunch, to Modern Family. Yeah, and it's going to be very obvious the things we're hitting visually, you know, the camera work, all that stuff.
Yeah.
So Agatha All the Way then picks up with that, but in a way that's maybe not a little more muddled.
Yeah.
In terms of it being a parody of true crime, which I still personally enjoyed. I haven't watched a lot of true crime. Like, I feel like the first episode's really hitting on the mayor of Easttown.
Yeah, or True Detective, or those sort of like Dutch or Belgian or Norwegian sort of crime. Like girl with the dragon tattoo was that dark, gritty, detective-y sort of thing where everyone looked real unhappy. Yeah.
But then here and there in these different shows, or like a Twin Peaks going way back, where you have quirky characters, so they have their little things and isms, and so I think Catherine Hahn, was like riffing off of that, and they were having fun with that. But but even myself, while I was going, oh, this is funny, I'm enjoying this. There were moments where I was like, I think the level of parody, it wasn't as obvious maybe as it could have been. And then we kind of jump out of it.
Yeah.
So it's just this one short-lived thing, and then we move on, which I think for someone, certainly who didn't watch WandaVision, would go, well, what happened?
Yeah.
What happened?
What happened?
Yeah.
Because
they don't even give a sting. They don't even give a previously on WandaVision, right? Do they?
I don't think
Or does it
so.
launch
Maybe. I don't remember.
Yeah.
The
But anyways,
jumping, because there was all the other things notwithstanding, just the lack of commitment to that aspect of it being a detective show that she was living in because she's in this brain jail, just to kind of hint at things and then all of a sudden we're out of it after 19 minutes was weird. And part of me gets it. Like, I think that, you know, the show creator didn't want to just do WandaVision again.
Sure.
But in some ways, WandaVision was like the most unique show that they've done in a very long time.
Yeah,
so no
sure.
one's going to be mad if they commit to the detective drama for a whole episode or episode and a half and then pull us out of it, because we all know it's going to turn into a Marvel movie eventually, or at least, well, maybe, but we'll see, because that was the whole
what
thing.
even WandaVision did. Right?
Exactly.
People loved the different, like how different it was, and then at the end of the day, it's like, okay, now it's just these two witches shooting crap out of their hands.
Yeah.
And, okay,
And it's tying us into the what was it called, the Snap and things like that with Rambo's character.
Sure.
And Shield and all that kind of. So you're getting all the tie-ins that you want, which, I mean, that to me is great, because it is a Marvel movie in a Marvel universe. So do that. That's fine. So far, in episode 1, as you're watching it, it neither feels like a Marvel show and it neither feels like a detective drama, because everything just felt so convoluted. And then eventually she's suddenly naked in her house back in Westview, and it's like the perfect day, and she's like, how long have I lived here? I felt like I had fallen asleep halfway through and woke up. There's like a thing that Nick always talks about, is like, do I feel like I've passed out and suddenly I have no idea what's going on in the next episode of a show? I felt like I felt that way during the first episode. I was like, what is happening?
Right, because there were so many shifts in. It's like, yeah, I agree that I think the way they were trying to tell the story was just a little muddled. Like, and also granted, I'm a person that, like, when things are real, like, wacky and weird, I can, like, enjoy it, and so that I don't care. Like, there were moments in the crime drama thing where I was, like, cracking up. And when she went real over the top, when she's like, these are these pictures, who are these people? I was kind of loving it.
Yeah.
It was so ridiculous.
Yeah.
But then when she kicks him out of the chair and she's like, all right, I'll back off, whatever. Yeah, I was kind of like, how much of a level of parody is this? I'm not sure what they're meaning to convey.
Yeah.
And then, the Darkhold thing, there was a lot of information coming from previous things still.
Yeah.
That they were trying to stay maybe too mysterious with. And so it's not that I want the glasses with the thing saying, this is what you should think and feel.
Yeah.
But I think maybe the direction was a little muddled. And to get us into, okay, she's awake now, she's freed, now we're going to set up a Wizard of Oz kind of adventure. Yeah. Oh, okay. Now it's going to totally shift into this other thing. And now we're going to get the gang together real slapdash, because it's got to happen. And we've seen it a million times, so you get it. Let's just bang it out. Go through the motions and speed through it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that first episode had a little too much to carry, I think.
Well, which is exactly why I was hoping that there would be, because the thing is that, and that's part of like the backlash from the first video I did, backlash. But I mean, it had like 7 comments and 500 views. It's not like it was a big deal. But the thing that
there was like solid backlash within the 7 comments.
Yeah. Whatever, so. And even on TikTok, I posted, excuse me, a clip about the parody aspect of things And and somebody just commented, "You're wrong." And it's like, but the thing is, I'm not wrong. Parody or spoof is not what that was. It wasn't spoofing. If it was, it executed it so poorly. And you have to have everyone kind of over the top. Certainly you have to have like straight characters and stuff, but the thing about spoof and parody is when you're walking through a scene. So if I'm tracking with Agatha, she's walking up to the crime scene, there needs to be tropes all over the place. You know what I mean? Like you have to like walk through and see. It's like with Spaceballs, everyone's helmet was exaggerated and huge. Right. They're combing the desert, but the black stormtroopers were using a hair pick. Those are things that you're calling on current things and also spoofing the idea of comb the desert. This was not that. The only person who was spoofing it, quote unquote, was Agatha or Agnes as an actor, which was way over the top, and everyone else was playing it straight. It didn't make any sense.
And like, I think if they played it confused, and she's doing this character, and they're all like, "Oh, you're this now?
Yeah.
Okay, what? You're a detective now? Okay, what do you need? Why are you at the library?"
Yeah.
I did crack up when there was a giant line at the library. I was like, "What library has a line?"
Right.
I thought that was hilarious. And like, but again, I think that goes to the point where it's like everything was too subtle.
Yeah.
Where you're going, are we like it's kind of being played? Like you're saying, a little too straight. And again, like WandaVision worked because it starts in black and white, and she's wearing the 50s dress, and she's like vacuuming, and she's worried about the boss.
They're playing it straight, 100%. They're playing the genre exactly, and it's not a parody. They're playing the genre exactly how it should be.
Yeah, and maybe I can't remember if there's a laugh track. There maybe was in the first episode, but it's all because it's black and white, because it's so wacky visually looking that you can, it establishes things real easily. Now this, again, I haven't seen probably enough of the true crime things to get all the tropey things, but certainly your frustration was like her always having something in her mouth. And the gum chewing, I agree. I was like, oh, she's chewing gum. And then when she had the donut in her mouth, I was like, okay, she's making fun of the people that always have or eating something.
The coffee cup,
because
the donut.
That's their character.
Yeah.
Like, I need to make this character seem eccentric or whatever. I'll just be eating. That's easy.
Yeah. It definitely was, Dexter-esque in that respect. But, I mean, if we're going to use all the words, parody, spoof, satire, all those things, to me it was just very clear that the writers don't know what any of those things are, and it was trying to be just a little bit of all those things, as opposed to saying, oh no, I have a very clear perspective on what a spoof should look like, or I have a very clear perspective on what parody or satire should look like. I'm going to do that, or just play it straight. And that's super fun for a filmmaker, for a crew, is say, we're going to do this entire episode exactly like an episode of True Detective. And but there's going to be these little clues along the way, just like WandaVision was like that, which ironically is like the same freaking creator, which I don't understand how it's gone so far off the rails from those first couple episodes that I thought, in retrospect, I really like. I didn't love WandaVision at first, but then in retrospect, I'm like, oh, that was cool to play it so down the middle in everything. And yeah, I mean, and so it just became irritating to have one character who is, especially by episode 3 or episode 2, literally chewing the scenery, like so over the top. It was crazy to watch. And there was some confusion from like the teen character where he's like, what's going on? These are just flowers. What's going on? Why do you keep staring at that painting? There was that stuff, but then also all that happened, and then she was like, I'm going to tape your mouth and put you in the closet. Like, what is happening? What's going on? There's no one serving their purpose other than completely allowing Agatha to be a giant a-hole. Like, that's all that's happening in this whole show so far.
Right.
Is everyone's just letting her be a dick, and they're just putting up with it. And it's very, very, very weird.
It's, I guess if I could sum up this, and I think what so many other shows, we're kind of touching on The Acolyte, and just I think a lot of recent Marvel and Star Wars TV shows is they filmed like the second draft, and they needed to get to the fifth draft.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's happening.
Yeah.
Like all of these things, because for me, another point where it really hits is from episode 2 into episode 3 of Agatha, is like they start on the road, the Witch's Road, and they take off their shoes and they walk, and that's the end of episode 2. And then episode 3, they're like bickering, but it's like, shouldn't the bickering happen first?
Right.
Like,
right.
So it's like I've barely written anything, but I'm working on a short film. You've read it, but like, so I get the challenge of character and plot coming together, and how do you have characters react to a moment genuinely that feels natural?
Yeah.
And I think at the beginning of episode 3, I'm going, they're having this conversation, but none of it feels natural because they needed more drafts, right?
Well,
Like it's starting to get there, but it ain't there yet. But here we are
Totally.
filming, and the money's going, and the train tracks, here we are. We're full steam ahead. Oh, well.
Yeah. Well, we can move into episode 2 with that, because that was the thing is so when you have a show like this, they can just make up all the rules. And I know that in some interviews that I watched, like Jack Peterson was talking about how, she did all this research on witches and spells and sent everybody like a spell book, and we're going to all do rituals together and yada yada. And it's like, that's all well and good, but but you're doing that within your own made up world. You're creating an entire world, which that's what Star Wars was. That's what Lord of the Rings was in its first iteration. Like, all these things are completely made up worlds, but there's no, it's like, I'm not a huge Harry Potter fan, because I've never read the books. I should say I'm not a huge Harry Potter movie fan, because I don't know the rules. It's very clear what the rules are in the first 3 Star Wars movies. You know the rules in the first, in Lord of the Rings movies. With this show, I don't know what the rules are, and you're just throwing out all these words that I don't understand, that I don't know, I have no context for. So once we get to episode 2 of them being on the road, episode 2, when they're going to the house and they're singing the song and all the things, there's all these
So they're in
rules.
Agatha's basement. She's got the gang together. They're going to sing the song.
Yeah.
The witchy rock stars song.
Yeah. Yeah. You're thinking something is going to happen, and nothing happens, because suddenly there's these scary witches that I thought, oh, here's a really cool antagonist, like something scary in the show finally. And then they just
Salem 7.
They just seal up
Agatha.
the ground, and then when they are singing the song, and there's all this momentum and all this building happening, and then it ends, and they're like, you were out of tune. Ew, no, you were out of tune. No, you. It's more bickering. It's just constant bickering and anger amongst the main characters. It makes no sense.
Right. Well, and especially when they all just kind of show up, right? She gets the gang together. She's like, I need a coven, and then magically, right in East Haven or Westview, whatever, there's all these magical witches that are right there. Wow, that's first off, convenient. Okay, whatever, fine. But she goes and gets them, and they're all kind of like, no, I don't trust you. You're like a terrible human being.
Right.
You got the dark hold.
Yeah.
And you maybe sold your own son for it, so you're a piece of trash. Why would I trust you? And then they just all show up anyways. Because they all, like, and I guess, like, they all have their own issues.
Yeah.
Like, the one's being foreclosed on. She's going to lose her business. The other one's about to go to jail or has litigation coming at her.
Yeah.
So it's like they set it up, but again, it's just like boom, 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 boom. We don't have time. Who cares? You get it. We've seen this before. So they all get jammed together. Yeah, and then so they're all in a basement. They sing the song, which is going to conjure the road. And what I do like, I like that when it doesn't work, she tries to rile them up and get them mad because she's got to steal their powers, right? So we've established that Agatha can steal powers and then use those. Now she has those powers.
But only
right
if
now,
she's been blasted with them,
yeah,
right?
They have to blast.
They have to blast her with them.
So she's going to get blasted hardcore at the end, I think.
Fingers crossed.
With well, finger blasting.
He old finger blast.
But yeah, so I was like, okay, that's interesting. And then they start getting pissed, like, oh, you weren't gonna conjure the road. You just wanted to get us here to steal our powers. And I was like, that's interesting. But then the road opens up and they run away. And I'm like, all right, sure, whatever.
Yeah.
Fine.
And that is interesting. But that's the thing is anything that is interesting, anything that seems to create character or give us context or make us care is abandoned for senseless plot as opposed to actually giving us a reason to care about the characters. You know, it made me think a lot about Never-Ending Story, a movie like that, where it's basically one character's journey who meets all these crazy people along the way. Or Labyrinth is a great example too, where Jennifer Connelly's character is on this journey to save her brother, or the kid she's babysitting, I don't remember. But she goes along the way.
I think it's her brother, right?
Yeah, I think it's her brother, little brother. But she's on this journey and she meets characters along the way that either help her or hinder her. When you set up a show like this where Agatha clearly has a purpose that she's out to get her powers back, a big aspect of all of these shows is like, let's give these characters their agency, like their own personal sort of willpower. So it would be great to see this one character traveling, trying to get her powers back, and along the way, she meets other people. But instead, we're obsessed right now in movies and TV of having 19,000 main characters that we have to balance all the time and just be like, oh, this is too hard. Like Tolkien's a great example of a writer that was able to make a serious number of main characters, but make it make sense in the books of telling an entire story of one person. Then you bounce to another person. It was just like this. And then as the books got further and further along, it got condensed and condensed and condensed until they all met each other in one.
The anti-Game of Thrones.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. So with a show like this, like I could find Agatha compelling if she was on a journey. Like, I mean, again, what's her name? WandaVision. That was that show. It was about her. It was about her putting everybody, including Vision, in a brain jail so she could live her life that she wanted to live. She was the main character. Right now, Agatha is not the main character. I don't like her. And I don't have to like the main character. Like, I didn't like Walter White all the time. I didn't like Tony Soprano all the time. But I just don't like her at all because she's not interesting. She's not compelling. There's no redeeming qualities about her. And all the people around her are just yes men in a weird way because they're just serving her little like purpose of being a dick to everybody.
Well, yeah, and just again, it's the rushing of it where you're trying to create all these like women who are like these strong individual women, but then they just are going along with the plot because the plot has to happen because we don't have time to get them there.
Yeah.
And this was the second draft, and here we are. Yeah. So, and I think to your point, if all these characters, like if all these women were on the road and it was slow, like they're doing a Wizard of Oz type of thing. She's walking down the yellow brick road, and all these characters all have something they want to get, right? Mm-hmm. She wants her powers back. The other one wants to figure out what happened to her mom. The one wants to not be foreclosed on, whatever. I don't know. Some of them you're like,
Yeah.
how are there? There's other than they're just all going to be powerful witches, and they can tell the bank screw you, and the bank goes okay. And
But
the
that's the
judges
thing,
go,
though.
We won't charge you. Don't worry.
If you come across each of these women on the road because they're on the same journey, trying to get their powers back for one reason or another, now you have every character has a reason to be there and a purpose and a point of view. I mean, Wizard of Oz is a great example of that, where she comes across the Scarecrow getting, he's hung up and loosey-goosey and hasn't been down off of the thing for years, and he wants something. And as simple as it is, and that's the thing, it can be that simple. He wants a brain. The lion is in the forest, terrified out of his mind. He wants courage. There's so much about that makes sense because you're catching it along the way. And ultimately, the big bad guy at the end, he just wants to be loved. Like, he's not that scary. He's a fake wizard. And so with a show like this, with her getting the coven, they had to pretend like there was some sort of background there. It's like, oh, you don't want the IRS coming after you, do you, over your soap? It's like, come on, man. That's just so low stakes. It makes no sense.
But if you find her and she still even, let's say she even has that same background and she herself went into the road. All these women had these issues, same issues even, but they went into the road, the witch's road on their own, and they're trapped.
Yeah.
And now Agatha's coming through, and Agatha is like a badass, but to the point where now Agatha has room to breathe.
Yeah. Because
she doesn't have to put the crew together. She's just trying to get to the witch's road. So maybe the teen shows up, and that's it.
Yeah.
And then it's just them that get to the road. Maybe she grabs the neighbor lady, who I have a feeling is going to end up being the Mephisto or something.
Right, yeah.
I think that's going to get popped up, and we're going to go, was that earned? Maybe, maybe not.
Yeah.
I probably won't care. Either way, I'll enjoy it. But, yeah, I think that would allow, and then it's things coming at Agatha, and Agatha steering, and you going, how's Agatha going to handle this one singular thing that has time to breathe? Right? So her character now is faced with, I don't have my powers. This sucks. I hate this. I'm a badass, but I'm not right now. And I got to deal with this loser that I knew 100 years ago that's stuck on the road. And I got to and I think if there's something where it's like her trials are getting these people solved, then it's like, okay, but now she has to become a better human.
Yeah. But what if she's the whole time she realizes in order to, she can help them, quote unquote, while also having them help her, and then also secretly wanting to steal their powers, because that's the subtext of the situation, is like she wants to steal their powers, but it's just so obvious because she's an outcast. Everyone else is staring at her all the time. If those people were stuck on the road and they needed something from her, they would be much more willing to go along with this, knowing that there was a chance that they might get their powers stolen, but I'm going to risk it to get out of the road.
Because I am desperate, and I've been here for 10 years. Or I've been here for 30 years. I've been here for 50 years. Right. So the desperation that they were trying to boil in episode 2, which is just like, I'm a witch that's been around for centuries, presumably, but I'm in a pickle right now. Yeah. It's like, that's not quite enough for you to trust this presumably very evil, very untrustworthy woman who has done horrible things. And we just saw how she manipulated Wanda. Yeah. To the point where Wanda's like, I'm going to put you in a mind prison. Bye.
Yeah. And they set her up to be so evil. It's like, what is even going on? Because the threat of tax evasion or whatever they were doing with the one lady, like that, are you kidding me? And not to mention that they're living in a fake town anyways, so who cares? It doesn't. That doesn't work.
Yeah. No. I genuinely like our idea of, because because a lot of other people have said it's Wizard of Oz kind of. And even that beginning True Lies or True Detective kind of intro
Yeah.
it's a yellow caution tape.
Yeah.
Going down a road. It's a yellow brick road. So, so they're spelling out, this is kind of Wizard of Oz. Everyone needs something.
Yeah.
They're going on a little adventure. Yeah, just actually rip off the Wizard of Oz completely.
And do it, but do it like right and do it well. I've been watching some reviews of, and I gotta watch this show. It's the Robin Hood show. It's a Canadian TV show, and it's a reimagining of Robin Hood. And it's so insane.
What does it take place medieval or
it takes place in like
1985.
No, like a housing block in Canada in like Toronto, and it's a bunch of like of seemingly underprivileged black folk who, you know, steal stuff, and then it's in a fictional town called New Nottingham, and the sheriff is a very skinny, very pale, very weak looking redheaded woman, and there's John Prince instead of Prince John. There's John Little instead of Little John. So all this kind of stuff, but the whole thing is just these guys, these Robin Hood character people, they literally just steal stuff. Like they're just like breaking into people's apartments and stealing things and then throwing parties. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And they're throwing parties in it.
And so the cops are after them, and they're supposedly somehow the cops are the bad guys, but they're like, no, but you stole that guy's car. Like, you can't steal cars. And he's not even a tax, you know, the whole idea of Robin Hood was an unfair situation of the, you know, sort of the privilege of the monarchy and how it, you know, trickles down and oppressing people. This is just them breaking into people's houses, stealing stuff.
Being pieces of crap, and the police are like, "Hey, man, we live in a society," and they're like, "Whatever."
Do this? Yeah, they're like, "What? We earned it." They keep on saying we earned it. It was like, you didn't. You stole it. Stole and earn are two different things.
No, I broke in and grabbed it and walked out. That's how I
earned it. It's crazy, but that's the thing, is that there's a fundamental misunderstanding of storytelling that. Before we go into episode 3, it's just that it's so frustrating when you go back and you watch a movie like Goonies, like Monster Squad, even like Hook.
I finally watched Monster Squad.
Yeah? Pretty great, right?
Yeah, like a month ago. Yeah.
Shane Black, it's great. You know, these movies are written by people who understand what storytelling, and maybe it went to the 25th draft or whatever. But the thing is, and maybe it was sort of made by committee, but it was made by committee of people who knew what this was supposed to look like and how A goes to B, goes to C, goes to D, how you get to the end. With this stuff, there's so many writers, and, you know, I will just say I'm a dick. I know a lot of writers. I know how this works. I know why they're bad, because they're just trying to infuse what they want to see on screen.
Sure.
But if you look at the writers of Agatha all along,
a paid gig.
It's a paid gig.
Especially for people punching a thing up. It's like, yeah, now you figure it out.
Yeah.
All right.
Totally.
Whatever.
But the Agatha writers have absolutely no credits. And I pad the hell out of my IMDb, and they don't even have that. One of the writers on one of the writers on the show, the only credit is like story assistant or something like that. There's nothing there to say, oh, you know what you're doing here, and it's very apparent by that show.
I think that again, like, to my point of going, these all feel like a first or second draft. I think the other thing is that there is not an adult showrunner in a lot of these shows.
Right.
Like, they're giving new voices jobs, which is great, but it's like grandma or grandpa isn't on set going, you know,
right,
you gotta deal with this thing, right?
Yeah.
This thing isn't working. What do you mean it's not working? It ain't working.
Yeah.
That person doesn't seem to exist on a lot of these different shows.
Well, and a show like this, I don't think that Grandpa or Grandma would have cared anyways, because this is just something that was announced 4 years ago because it seemed like it would make sense, and it just basically got screwed by things like the strike and all the things, and they're just like, we already committed to it. Let's just spend the money. If it goes bad, we'll write it off or whatever. It's like that's just how this stuff seems to work.
Yeah.
So they're just going to let it go.
Streamingville.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yeah,
Streamingville.
just throw it up there.
It's just like,
Who cares?
nothing means anything. It's
Yeah.
just like this Wild West of, did anyone watch it? We'll let you know if anyone watched it.
Yeah.
What was the budget? We'll tell you eventually what the budget was.
We'll tell you in a
And
while.
Is it true? Who knows?
I mean, there's conversation going on right now about Lightyear, the Buzz Lightyear prequel that just emerged recently about how much money it lost, and that it was blamed on the backlash over some kind of a lesbian controversy.
Kiss.
Yeah, the kiss. It was like, I had to like check my watch and be like, what year is it? I didn't even remember this movie. Why are we talking about this now? But that's the thing about streaming, is that they can just suddenly come out with all, like, we just learned what the numbers for The Acolyte were. It was like $230 million or something like that. Like,
Which was still seem like what everyone was figuring. Like, I feel like that's the same number that back when it came out.
But do the
"Where's that
people
money going?"
who own Disney, like the major shareholders, do they not care? Are they not like, hey, can we make something good? Would that be okay? Would that be a problem to make a good show?
It's more, again, I think it's just like, they seem to be missing the adult in the room.
Yeah.
Or they're asking, or the adults are asking too much of any and every show.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know which one it is, and maybe it's both. Because certainly the creation by committee is an issue. I feel like it's either too many cooks, and there's a whiteboard, and all the execs say it's got to have all this crap, and that to meet all these demographics, it's got to have bling, bling, bling. Your Star Wars needs 5 X-Wings, and it needs 1 Millennium Falcon,
Right.
and it needs a Wookiee. Maybe it's not Chewbacca now, but it's got to have a Wookiee. And it goes down the list. It's either that, or it's, we're going to give a new voice, we're going to let this new emerging voice run with something. And maybe we're not going to give them that pain in the butt support they need.
Yeah.
Again, a grandma or grandpa that's going to go, kid, this ain't working. And they go,
Yeah.
studio's coming down on me. But it's like the right kind of studio coming down on them, going, why is this character doing this in this moment? This doesn't make sense. Like getting back to the Agatha, the beginning of episode 3, all of a sudden they're bickering.
Yeah.
And it's like they were all randomly a united front on the end of episode 2, because episode 2 needed to show them a united front walking down the yellow brick road, right? And then we get there, and all of a sudden 70s mom is going, I'm been kidnapped. And it's like, you have to start with that. She needs to, the second she gets down there, go, I'm being kidnapped.
Right.
And they go, sorry, idiot, here we are. We're going to get murdered by the, whatever, Salem 7 weird creature witches that are bad. They're bad. They'll probably end up being good at the end.
Probably.
I don't know. Who knows?
It'll be 7 Aubrey Plazas or something stupid.
Yeah,
like
it's all.
that. Yeah.
It's going to be Aubrey Plaza.
Yeah.
Or it's going to be like Andy, what's the Arrested Development? Andy Richter and his brothers. Yeah.
Yeah, his twin brother. Well, that's the thing about 70s mom is like, she's apparently not a witch. She's brought in because Agatha doesn't want to use Aubrey Plaza, but somehow she knows all the words to that song, and somehow she's fine with everything up until this last second where she's like, not only have I been kidnapped, but I'm going to walk away randomly so that we can have a line in the show that says stay on the road. It's just, it's so cheap. It's so cheesy.
Well, and also so that then she could almost get sucked down by the road, but then they find her, and then magically, that's the first task is right there. So now she has led them to the first task.
Right.
They go in, they get to the house, and they're like, what do we do? And she's like, we got to be polite. She hits the doorbell. She goes in.
Right. Yeah.
She reads the thing, and she starts drinking wine. So I'm like, she's Mephisto
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
something. Like it was the catalyst. And then spoilers, at the end of episode 3, she's dead.
Right.
And we go, okay,
Yeah.
maybe she's dead. Maybe.
Yeah.
And they just used her to move the plot forward, or she's someone else.
Right.
Right.
And either one seems pretty cheesy because you're dealing with a character who so we're in episode 3 at this point.
We're doing a terrible job of explaining this show. I assume you've all seen it.
We're doing a great job. Spoilers.
We're great.
Yeah.
Everyone knows what's happening.
Or rusty. But the thing is, like, when you're dealing with a character who's at peril the entire episode. So from scene 1, she's in peril. 70's mom is, and she's constantly first one to drink. Now she's dying. Now we need to come up with a spell to save her. And then at the end of the episode, she's dead. I'm like, what are we doing? Because it doesn't make any sense. There's no surprise. You don't like look to the side and suddenly Teen's dead, and you're like, what happened? There's no surprise to it. She's always in danger. She's always in peril. She's always sick. She's the one who dies. Like, there's no what are we doing?
And 2, it sets up where I go, is a character going to get killed in every episode? Which
Right.
I would
Just
like
knock
that.
them down. Yeah,
Like,
just whittle it down.
Bang them all out, and Agatha and Teen Boy are left. And then maybe it's interesting, but then at the end, I still go, and then Agatha, to win and get past the road, she has to, like, sacrifice herself. Right. So, it's going to be something where she's going to have to become a good human.
Yeah.
They come back. I think that's the bigger problem, is that because it's under the Disney umbrella, there is no, what's going to happen? That doesn't exist under Disney.
No.
Full stop, period.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen. There's no, holy crap, did you see that Disney show? What?
Yeah.
Did you see that movie that Disney made?
Yeah.
Wow, I can't believe they murdered everyone outside of Endgame.
Yeah.
But that's happened. We've done that. And guess what?
Everything has that sense that Nico always talks about, where you kind of know where it's going, or a movie like Black Widow, which I really enjoyed. I thought it was good. But at the end of the day, she dies eventually, so there's no peril, and I get that. But to me, that's the same as watching
Titanic. That's his Titanic.
Right, yeah.
Yes.
I don't mind watching the same movie twice, but I already know what happens. But I still feel, if it's a good movie and it's done well, I'm going to feel a sense of peril and danger and anxiety and fear. And, so Thunderbolts trailer just came out a couple days ago, and a lot of the guys that I follow that I really enjoy on YouTube are just like, what are we doing? Why is this happening? Who asked for this movie? I don't know these characters. To me, it's the opposite.
Yeah.
I want the Marvel version of Suicide Squad. Like, that's what I want. I want to have, and the thing is, as a kid, we were at the prime comic book age when sort of those I don't want to say anti-hero necessarily, but U.S. Agent was a thing.
Sure.
And
like Ghost Rider, like trashier, but like
right.
the Punisher.
100%.
All these things are emerging.
Totally. And during the Spider-Man era, you had like Nova and Night Stalker and different characters that were just really cool, really interesting, but weren't like legacy characters per se.
Yeah.
Everything's a legacy character at this point, but Thunderbolts made me excited because it was like, are we just going to get a fun action movie? Because that would be nice for a change. Just give me an action movie.
Yeah, and also stick to your genre, and I'm okay if it doesn't have 5,000 tie-ins. Maybe
Right.
it's just a
Totally.
thing over here. It's like, part of me years ago wanted Marvel movies where it's like, what if like unexpected characters had to team up, and it's just 2 random characters that you never would stick together otherwise, and they got to do this thing, and they both of them don't want to do it, and whatever. It's like, hey, that was fun.
Yeah.
And it's not big, and it's not it's not bringing in every other thing. It's
Well,
just,
that's why
So yeah,
I enjoyed.
Thunderbolts is fun,
Yeah,
and I
it's
hope they
that.
make Bucky interesting again. Oh, make him interesting.
But see, I actually enjoyed
Do that.
the Falcon and Winter Soldier because it had that element. It was sort of the buddy comedy thing,
Yeah,
and so it
but
was
then
just it was fun. There was a lot wrong
he
with it
wasn't
too,
Mel
but
Gibson though.
no,
Bucky was supposed to be Mel Gibson, and then he was just like, "I got healed. I'm Bucky now." It's like, dude,
fine
be
now.
crazy. Why should you like? They better make him unhinged because
Yeah.
why would you not?
Yeah,
I don't care if Wakanda fixed him. He can be unfixed. Whack him in the head.
right.
Now he's Mel Gibson. Make him kooky. And they go, we don't know what this guy's going to do.
Because he was
He might be
kooky.
fine, or he might go nuts. We don't know. We
Yeah.
need him for the mission, and he's the wild card. We think he's boring, but he's crazy.
But he's been
That's what
turned
I would
into a typically vanilla character, like even like the Hulk in She-Hulk. He just turned into this docile mentor character that was just so boring that there's no danger left. And I think that as you were talking about this, it made me really think about Agatha from the point of view of, the tie-in aspect. I what you said was exactly what I was thinking. It's okay if we don't have the tie-ins to the Marvel Universe right away. So if Agatha had started where she's living in this town, she's confused, she discovers she's a witch, she has to go get her powers back, but she still doesn't know why she's so confused for 4 or 5 episodes, and then suddenly there's flashes of Scarlet Witch and there's flashes of her former life. Because the thing is, you can find out what you want to find out online about the character from the comics, but we don't know who she is. Like, we don't really understand, unless you go back and watch the last episode of Wanda. Why is she so important? Why is she a character in this whole world? So it'd be fun to see some of that, see some of her past life, and what got her to this point while she's confused. But instead, she's an insufferable a-hole that I just can't stand. Ultimately.
And again, I like her fine, but I agree that she doesn't. They have not. This show has not created the space for her to have to like deal with what's happening and what she wants. Yeah, she's sidelined in her own show because, again, to your point, there's too many other main characters.
Yeah.
And I think, again, if we did this Yellow Brick Road thing, then it's like we get so much time with her up front, and then we're just slowly adding people on. So by the time we have this big cast, we already get her.
Yeah.
She's kind of figured herself out again, and then we go, oh, what's she going to do? Is she going to be a piece of trash, or is she going to be a human? Let's see.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that's the problem, too, with every character. With the exception of 70s Mom / Mephisto, probably, we don't really like anybody. No one. And the thing is, like, again, I'm not a person who believes that every character or any character needs to be likable per se or sympathetic per se, but there needs to be aspects of them that are at least relatable. And there's nothing relatable about any of the characters up to this point, other than maybe Teen, and that's another thing. Like, why are we still teasing who he is? We all know who he is. It's ridiculous to think that we're over here supposed to. Well, I mean, okay, maybe it's not going to end up being that way, because the thing is,
Who do you think he is?
I think that he's Wiccan, who basically is Scarlet Witch's kid from her like created reality. Right.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I mean, maybe not. Maybe it'll be like eventually a spell will be broken. It's like, who are you? He's like, I'm Tony Stark. I don't know what's going to happen, but
I'm your kid. Your kid's not the rabbit. Or
right.
whatever.
Right. Yeah. Maybe it's her kid too. Yeah. Who knows? Which is
But it's probably Scarlet Witch's kid.
Yeah.
Because they're trying to set up Young Avengers. And
Yeah,
he's a part of
exactly.
that, so.
Yeah. So it's interesting because there's just too much mystery that's not a mystery. And in the first video that everyone hated, I had said, why not just show us Scarlet Witch's face? I get it's probably because it's too much money, but also one guy was like, it's not the Scarlet Witch. I was like, what are you talking about? Like, who? And even if it's not her at the beginning when she's dead, like the dead body.
Sure. Yeah.
But that's the thing. First of all, how could you think it's not her? And second
She's
of all,
wearing the hoodie from the end of WandaVision, and she's got black fingers from using the Darkhold. Yeah,
and she got crushed by a bunch of rocks at the end of Doctor Strange, and that's what they said.
Smooshed.
Yeah,
they
she
make
got
the
smooshed.
joke of, "Oh, she's most definitely dead."
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Is
Wink,
she?
wink,
Yeah, she's
wink.
totally dead.
Yeah. So but that's the thing. Like, if it turns out that the dead body at the beginning of the episode is actually, I don't know, Captain Marvel, and Wiccan is actually Doctor Doom as Tony Stark, like, then I'm just angry at everything. Don't make it up. Don't make it up. But also figure out a way to tell me this story better.
Because I think that's another issue is, and this is, it's like we're post-trope entertainment or something, where it's like we've done so many things. It's like, am I thinking of Game of Thrones? But it's like for spite, like Game of Thrones, where they're just like, and the White Walkers have to be defeated. Who's going to do it? Jon Arya. Yeah, because nobody saw that coming. Did we set it up? Maybe. But it's exciting and it's different. And I think that's where we are in entertainment, where they're just like, we're doing a thing that you all know how it's going to end. So how do we surprise you? We'll just do an old switcheroo at the end. Was it earned?
Yeah.
Who cares? We got to do a switcheroo because they know it's going to be blim blam. So if we come in with flim flam,
right?
It's a surprise, and then people go, yeah, but you didn't plant that, and we all know because we're like post meta. We're post meta. That's like, what do you? And I sympathize with anyone trying to make something because it's all post meta.
Yeah, it's so funny because it made me think of like in Game of Thrones, where like, who's Daenerys gonna end up getting with? Is gonna be guy on the boat? Is gonna be guy on the horse? Is it gonna be Jon Snow? It's just what are we doing here?
Let's just have that other sexy person
get with his cousin or whatever.
See them bang. Oh,
it's just so
that
weird.
Guy.
Yeah. So there's that aspect, that element of it, certainly, but there's also, it's funny, a lot of like the more conservative guys that I watch from time to time, everyone's really mad at the show because they think that Agatha all along is created for wine moms. And I was like, I don't really know what that means or if that's really true. And then episode 3 is like all basically based on them drinking wine. It's so also funny.
I think that's another aspect that like Disney and other people are just like, what will these dudes hate? Let's do that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So there's also a component of like, deal with it.
Yeah.
Which is funny. Like, I laugh at it and I don't care, but it's like, but for the sake of storytelling, does this work?
Well, but that's the thing, is it doesn't
wine
work.
Scene is another thing where, again, it's like this weird conversation where they're like, oh, it's just the ladies gabbing. But then it's rushed and it doesn't feel natural, where 70s mom's like, so like witches are just like bad girls, right? And the one's like, I blame pop culture.
Yeah.
We don't wear pointy hats and we don't ride brooms. And I'm like, okay, I guess this is a conversation that could happen.
There's the dialogue that happens that I knew they hadn't used the word reductive yet in the script, because that's a thing that a lot of the sort of like more like feminist writers and the writers in the modern sort of like thing, they like to use that word for some reason. It's in scripts a lot, and I was like, oh, they haven't used it yet, but then they use it because Patti LuPone is like, she says, oh, you witches are just bad girls. She's like, well, that's quite reductive. And I was like, wow, you finally got there. It's sort of like the be that as it may, or what is this place? That's what reductive is. It's the new what is this place, and it's very annoying because we're being preached at instead of being told a good story. I had made some, where are my notes at? I need to grab my notes. I had some notes that I did because there was one particular thing that was very frustrating because it felt like it wasn't. Oops, there we go. Oh, when they first notice the house that they end up in, someone goes, "Was that there before?" And first of all, of course it wasn't, because the entire world was green, gray, and purple, and now suddenly it's gold and white.
It's a dead but like very thick forest.
Yes.
And then now there's a giant beach that's wide open with a stupid house. Yeah.
Yeah. And then Agatha says, we should stop asking that question. Was it there before? I was like, first of all, I don't remember them ever saying that. And second of all, stop meta-ing the script. Like, stop telling me what I'm supposed to think about the script. That's all you're doing in that moment, is being like, I'm going to tell you how clever we are by telling you not to think about the thing that we've been saying the whole time. Like, it was so lazy and so weird. And then, of course, she's just little character things that aren't funny or interesting, like the old lady, wiping her feet before she goes into the house and stuff. It's like, I know you all think on the day, it's like, oh my goodness, how brilliant was she? She wiped her feet before. It's like
a great choice. Right?
Yeah. But it's just, no, man, because you haven't given me anything to think about.
Or because like the second they see the house, it should be like, oh, I guess this is it. This is the first task. Are we ready?
Right.
I don't think we're on the same page here. And like they should have an argument on should we go or not, because we know it's the first task, right?
Mm-hmm. And that would be a good argument.
Yeah.
A proper argument.
Yeah. So it's like these arguments are happening, but again, it just goes to me going, this is like the first draft. This wasn't.
Yeah.
It's almost like get people on their feet and be like, what the hell would you do if you knew you're in a place where you're going to be tested and you're probably going to be killed, and you see this apparition show up? What do? You go, I don't trust any of you. I'm not going there because I will get killed because you're all full of shit. It's like that's the conversation that should be happening. Probably.
Yeah.
Right?
That's a good... So, not to keep on calling back to the haters, but after my conversation about the first episode, one guy was like, these shows have directors, right? I was like, well, first of all, bitch, I'm a director. And second of all, yeah, they do, but they have bad directors, because this doesn't make any sense that these characters, these actors are just going completely unhinged, off the rails, and no one's questioning anything. That was one of my notes that I was going to bring up that you pointed out, was these scripts have to go through at least a few drafts, at least a few eyeballs. Right, and eventually it lands in the hands of the actors. And not a single person who read that script was like, what's going on?
Right. Why am I saying this in this moment?
Huh? Yeah. You got actors on a pretty high caliber and a pretty high level of experience. Mm-hmm. And no one was like,
that could
I don't like this.
Destroy with really tight...
Yeah.
Like a great, tight script that understands everything.
But when you see, like, Patti LuPone was on the, red carpet talking about the fact that she knew nothing about anything Marvel and was completely clueless going into this thing. So she's just trusting that it's all going to be fine. She's just like, oh, this is going to be fine. Like, what am I worried about? And it's ridiculous.
And the paycheck will be the paycheck.
Yeah, exactly.
Whether it's good or not. And I've been in this... industry for long enough to not care anymore. I got a job, great.
Exactly. There's no cause, there's no effect, there's no stakes, there's no reason for me to give a flying...
Well, there's stakes, and so like here's the thing. We've been crapping on it. I will admit, I enjoy it enough. Yeah. Right? It's different. I haven't seen a witch coven go through trials, so I'll take it. The Acolyte, I didn't see the crap that the Acolyte gave me, so I went, yeah, great. It's different. It's not...
You do a good job of that, though. You're way better than I am at being able to just enjoy something at face value.
Well, here's the thing, though. The caveat is that it's treading in a different direction. If it's not treading in a different direction and it's still crap, I will like piss all over it. And I think that's my problem with maybe the like sequel Star Wars trilogy, maybe a little bit. And like when I get real cranky, it's when I go, you didn't swing, and it was like, what?
Gotcha. Yeah.
So if you swing, I will give you a ton of leadway. Like I will take 5 what's the Star Wars show again? Acolytes. I'll take 5 acolytes.
I'll take 5 of what's their names over 17 the last Skywalkers.
No, the last Skywalker was trash, and I loved the trash. So
right.
I won't watch it again.
Yeah.
But I love that kind of trash. I like either garbage. I'm gonna go watch Megalopolis tomorrow with friends.
Nice.
And I will not be sober.
Yeah.
Because I know better.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping for trash.
That trailer
just fall asleep.
made me drunk. Like just watching that teaser trailer made me feel like there was something wrong with me.
Blind as I can.
Yeah.
I watched a little bit of that trailer. I saw the visuals. I went,
I'm in.
And my friend really wants to watch it, and he's just like, even if it's garbage, I'm gonna appreciate it.
Yeah, that's
like,
great.
Okay, let's do it.
So if something is outside of the box, outside of the norm, especially now, you're into
Iron Man 12,
right?
And it's boring. I will be way pissier than Agatha Witch Coven on the Witch's Road.
Right.
I'll give that a bigger pass because I haven't seen it yet.
Gotcha.
That's
yeah,
my point.
That makes perfect sense because I think that was the problem with, say, Iron Man 3 or whatever. Is like, I mean, Thoreau's a good writer and all the things, but it didn't swing for anything. And now all of the shows are just trying to get us to from point A to point B for the next series or for the next movie. And that's pretty dull and boring, and it makes dull and boring characters for actors to play.
Right. And again, I think it seems like they brought what's his name back to Disney, right?
Bob Iger.
Yeah. And his mandate is like, stop blasting content.
Just don't blast it. Yeah.
So the guy before him that they had to give a boot to when they launched Disney Plus was like, we have a new streaming, platform. We have to put out content all the time. So they were blasting. And it's like, and then they were doing the problem for the sake of the shareholders and the fans, D23, and they announced 12,000 new projects, and they stick them on a big board, and you go, we got Rogue Squadron coming from Patty Jenkins, and we got this coming from Bling Blang and blah, blah. And you got like 40 projects for Star Wars and Marvel. And all these people are like, oh, you have a date, and I don't know what the story is yet. We don't have a script, but we have a title, and we have a release date.
Right.
And so Disney is learning that that's the opposite way to go,
right.
I think they're finally learning, like, maybe have a script, maybe have an idea and a script first, and then announce that you're going to make a thing. Because you have an idea instead of, we have a title, figure out the idea, geniuses, here's some money, and the people go, I don't want to write this. Back to my point about making YouTube videos. Oh, I'm a hired hand. Give a crap about Agatha. Okay, what's she doing? I don't know. Figure it out, stupid. And it has to have these 12 tie-ins. Do it.
Right. Do it.
Go,
do it, old maid.
And how much time do I have? Not enough.
Yeah.
What's the budget? A little too little.
Or in some cases, a little too much. Where it's like, that's just crazy. Keep talking. I'm going to grab a beverage.
Yes. I'll keep talking. So because they don't have enough time to properly develop the story, now the train's moving and there are no tracks, right? So they go, oh, the train's in full motion and we're getting the tracks put together. It's the Hobbit trilogy was Del Toro was going to direct it. They finally cleared the blue tape. They finally got the rights. The five studios. There's a woman that did a thing on the behind the scenes of The Hobbit. I'm just gonna give a shout out. The Battle of 5 Studios.
Oh, okay. I've not seen that. On YouTube?
What's her name? She's done stuff for PBS. It'll come to me. Give me
I can look it up for you while you chat.
But this is like case in point. So the Hobbit trilogy took forever to get all the, legal tape cleared so that people had rights and they could make it. Del Toro was signed on. They started pre-production with him. I think they had scripts. I assume they were building. And then creative differences, whatever that was, he got booted. He left. He's gone. They're going to pull production out of New Zealand. Peter Jackson goes, who was, I think, going to produce those movies.
He was producing it at that point, yeah.
I don't want New Zealand to lose these productions. I'll step in. And they went, you want to be director? They all loved your other movies. They went, okay, fine. I'll do it. Keep it New Zealand. Don't move it to Shepperton or whatever in England. So now, two movies at that point with dates,
right,
release dates, and he hasn't done any work. And he has to figure out script, characters, how they're going to shoot it, and what the, production design is. The train's moving, and now they're just frantically putting tracks in front of this full moving freight train.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's happening with all of these, all these projects that happened, and then throw in pandemic and throw in actors strike and writers strike. And it's like,
right,
for anything to be half watchable right now, frankly, is probably a miracle, right?
100%. I mean, that's what I said in what did I say it in? Oh, I just recorded a video on The Penguin. And the fact that I'm not a movie reviewer, I'm not a movie critic, I'm a filmmaker, and so I understand that every movie, every show, anything that you see on screen is a miracle. It's a miracle that anything gets made, and it's a bigger miracle that anything good is made.
Yes, because at every turn, bad is waiting for you. You have to dodge 500 bads to make a good. Right? Yeah.
Well, I want to grab one more little note here because there's something else I wanted to bring up. So there's a lot of costume talk, like they're like, oh, the costumes are fabulous. Like, that's great. This
fine.
Yeah, it's fine.
There's no like, oh my goodness. Yeah. There's been no wow moment. But,
no. And the sets are fine, but frankly it's so dark most of the time you can't really see where you're at. But it feels like Wizard of Oz Road. That's fine. But you do wonder, where is this, $100+ million budget going? And then you have an episode like this third episode where the house gets flooded with water randomly and they have to crawl through a stove. It's like, oh, that's where it's coming from. A pointless set piece that doesn't explain anything about the movie or about the show for us at all, but you're just doing it to create this sort of manufactured tension.
Sure. Right. Well, and I think the other thing that it's setting up is, so it's like that episode had an escape room vibe, right? And then also certainly like someone's pulling the levers.
Yeah.
And I don't want to say it's just 70s mom as Mephisto pulling all the levers. That's going to be what I assume.
Yeah.
It could be someone else, but it could be someone else again because everyone's going to think it's 70s mom being Mephisto. So let's do this. Bleep.
Yeah.
At the end, it'll be something that you'll go, well, I never could have guessed that because you're just trying to trick me.
Yeah.
Because we're post-meta.
And it's interesting too. So I'll just take the time.
I crap on this show so much.
No.
I am enjoying it.
It's fine. I'm not, and that's fine. So by the way, another shout out, Lindsay Ellis. Is that the Battle of the Five Studios? Lindsay Ellis.
Yes.
1.24. Okay, got it. I'm gonna have to check that out.
She went to New Zealand. Oh, yeah, and oh my God, that is so fascinating. Like, long story short, not to spoil things from her thing, but to keep the Hobbit trilogy in New Zealand, they pretty much had to like screw their unions,
Right.
so they would work for cheap.
Well, they did that with Lord of the Rings, though. Those guys worked. They worked on a non-union contract. I mean, we're talking about Elijah Wood has been union since he was 8.
Oh yeah,
you know,
yeah. Even
everyone.
Well, that's the actors.
Yeah, all the actors had to go non-union.
Yeah, Kate Blanchett was like, "I got paid in sandwiches."
Yeah,
that came out when she.
Well, they were promised a ton of back end stuff, and then New Line went out of business. That's why New Line went out of business, because they couldn't pay anybody anything. Yeah. So like they basically got paid sandwiches and soda pop, and that was about it for that movie.
We promised you 5%.
Yeah.
No, that's not gonna happen.
Just kidding. So I wanted to say, like, that's the thing about the new Marvel is. I'm gonna try to bring this picture up big, but it's not gonna work. But so we'll just do this is. Oh, you probably can't see. I'll have to share my screen with you. Hopefully the stream can see it, kind of. I'm showing them what Mephisto looks like.
Oh, okay.
You know, it's like, this is what Marvel is doing now, is they're like, oh, are we going to tease that Mephisto is actually the mom from 70s Show? Every character that has some sort of depth and something about them that's big and scary and mean is reduced to some other sort of character that's supposed to sort of pull the wool over our eyes or whatever. But then it doesn't, because you're like, yeah, I think somebody's mom's just Mephisto. So I'm just like, why can't we just have that character in the first place being the bad guy? Why would that be so bad? That'd be kind of fun.
Right, which gets to the Acolyte like mystery element, right? So I think a lot of things recently have been playing big on mystery element.
Right.
And you're like, is the mystery element more important, or do we just lay all the cards out and then we know the stakes from the beginning?
Right.
You know who the players are and we get it, right? That's the argument.
So did you see Deadpool Wolverine?
Yes. Yeah.
There's no mystery. It was just like, it was laid out. Here's the good guys. Here's the bad guys.
Right.
Let's call it a day. Let's fight. And that was very pleasing. I mean, obviously it's a litany of things to talk about. That's a whole different episode. But, you know, it's just, they'd show up at a place and Elektra's there and Blade is there and Gambit's there. And they're like, hey, we're stuck here. You want to fight? Yeah, sounds good. Well, who do you want to fight? That mean bald lady. Okay, cool. It's pretty easy.
What? And to that point, that's where our pitch for this show is Agatha goes into the road and she finds Blade and which I got a lowdown from one of my truck driver morning guys who had a very famous dad, and he knew that Blade was going to be in the movie.
Yeah, nice.
Like, I was told by my brother knows Wesley Snipes is like so-and-so.
That's funny. So you already knew before it even came out?
So I knew, and then when he showed up, I was like, yeah, I'm not surprised.
I got everything spoiled by TikTok, but I didn't mind. Like, that doesn't really bother me anymore.
Well, that's shame on you for being TikTok-y.
Yeah, it's true. But spoilers don't bother me anymore. I don't care. I find no less or more enjoyment by knowing or not knowing what's going to happen at the end of the day. It just, you know.
I have not watched the Megalopolis trailers because I don't care.
Yeah.
But I'm going to go see it, so I get to go into it fairly blind, but it's not for me. You know, like, I think Prometheus was the last movie where I was like, there's a trailer on. I don't want to see. I want to be surprised. And after that, I was like, okay, nothing means anything. Who cares?
Did you enjoy Prometheus at that point? Yeah.
My joke is I was 40% Prometheus, 60% anti-Metheus.
Right.
That's my joke.
Right. Are you Romuletheus? What's the new one, Romulus?
Yeah, I enjoyed that.
Yeah.
And then it devolved into Member Berries.
Right.
It was a movie that could have just been a movie in its universe. But then the producers went, we got to have this. And Bling Blang has to say the line. He has to say, get away from here, you bitch. And then we set up that the aliens have acid for blood and we're in the basement of the ship. And if blood gets spilled in the basement, we're going to get sucked out into space. That's the peril. But because he said the line trumps that the alien just got splattered all over the basement.
Yeah. I saw that clip of the guy saying the line from Aliens, right?
Yes.
And I thought it was like AI or something. That really is in it. It's actually had somebody say the exact same line. That's the most famous line that Sigourney Weaver has ever said. And they gave it to some random motherfucker.
Now, granted, he's the best part of the movie.
Okay.
He's great. His take on an synthetic, he's a synthetic, spoilers, but they tell you right away.
Yeah.
He's great, actually, in it.
I do enjoy the fact that you just said spoilers after you spoiled.
Well, because I realized that the very beginning of the movie,
spoilers.
He's a synthetic.
Yeah.
There's no reveal.
Okay.
It's not like Winona Ryder in 4.
Beetlejuice? Oh, okay.
Beetlejuice. Is that the next movie? Beetlejuice.
I thought it better be. Let's not waste it.
Yeah. I haven't watched that one yet.
Beetlejuice.
But what the hell was I talking about?
Synthetics.
Oh, yeah. But,
before that.
Okay. So, Alien Romulus could have just been a great movie, a great story within a known world, right? A franchise movie, but it can just do its own thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's very close, but then you go, okay, the producers then said you got to have blah, 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 blah.
Too much member berry.
And it gets peed on, and it's whatever, it's fine. It's still solid enough in this day and age. In this day and age, it's the best you're going to get.
Just give us something.
In a franchise movie. But on Netflix, there's a Terminator Zero anime, and it does a thing, but I think because it's animated, they don't care as much about it, and it has a freedom that live action just doesn't have anymore. So it plays in the universe, but it gets to like toss away all the baggage of John Connor, Sarah Connor, Arnold, T-800, blah, 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 blah. There's a future war with Terminators, and there's a past they're trying to change.
Yeah.
Clean slate, jumps into multiverse in the right way, where it gets to kind of have its own fresh story, but you get it.
Well, after Terminator the original, it's already a multiverse.
Yeah.
So it's not, you're not worried about that. I think it's
T2 is a remake.
Yeah.
It's a gazillion-dollar remake.
And how great is that, though? When I'm talking about the great movies of the 80s and 90s, the great scripts, that is, an unequivocally amazing idea. When you break down the idea from Terminator 2 of how the world ends and Skynet and all that stuff, it's so good, it's so brilliant. And you have character arcs of even the Terminator, and they go into a house, they're gonna kill the guy who created the chip, and then he gets saved, and then he decides, never mind, let's go blow it up because I'm gonna destroy the world. Like, that's such a crazy story arc that happens in like 30 minutes, and character development that happens, and Joe Morton's so good in that. It's such a great movie.
So in Boston, I think it's the Coolidge Quarter, like one of the classic, like, I don't know, built in the 30s theaters here that will play a lot of classic movies, like midnight shows. And they did a midnight show of Terminator 2. Probably at this point, like 5 or 6 years ago. And I watched, and I've seen Terminator 2 so many times. I made you watch it a gazillion times. I like forced it on everybody. But
It's a great movie.
I watch it after growing up and moving to Boston, just getting different perspectives. And the scene when Sarah's about to kill Joe Morton's character, Miles Dyson.
Yeah.
And then she misses, and then she's in the house, and she has a gun on him, and he's freaking out, and the family's crying. And it's like, it's race relations, it's like all this extra baggage that we never had to deal with living where we lived, growing up.
Well, but also just
I was just like, this is a crazy thing. Whoa, my God.
The thing that strikes me the most is it's an affluent family safe in their home that's suddenly attacked by a crazy lady and a robot.
Right.
That's just the most uncommon. And that's the thing that James Cameron does so well, is he puts you into this weird little moment in time where they're just having family time, and suddenly Terminator breaks in. It's crazy.
Yeah, he's going, leave me alone, I got work to do. He's on his computer typing away, making the future AI processor, and the son's got the remote control car. Like, everyone can piss on James Cameron, but even his new Avatar movies, he gets it. Like, he gets how humans work.
Yeah.
And it's like, even that new Avatar movie, it's just like, yeah, the kids are at a new high school and middle school, and they got to fit in. Like, he gets how to make ridiculous visuals, like, fit with just dumb, simple daily life.
Titanic is so good. The moments of them going, when the ship is going down and the mom is with the kids and she's praying with the kids or singing a song or whatever it is, or the band decides they're going to play together. He understands human moments in the context of massive events that are portrayed with gigantic special effects.
Right.
And that's where modern TV shows and movies are failing. There's just no human moments. And the thing is, like, I don't want to go there with everything, because it is an issue that, needs to get better or whatever. But when you create a cast that's more focused on diversity as opposed to chemistry, you have an issue with things feeling realistic. You have an issue with things feeling like tangible and cool. With Titanic, if they had gone like a diversity route and it was just like this spread of different ethnicities and this and that, it wouldn't have made as much sense. But what he did perfectly was he created class, because class at that point existed within one race. And so you knew that Leo's character was less than Kate Winslet's character and Billy Zane and all those guys. You knew all those things.
But also that she's trapped in her status.
There's this split.
She's high status, but she's
this sort of Romeo and Juliet sort of like thing going on that just makes so much sense. When you don't know where anyone is from or what their background is, then no one really has a history or a background. And it creates a really kind of a muddy world.
And I think, so like, to go to another Marvel thing that I actually enjoyed, the TV show Ms. Marvel.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's like a Pakistani family. But that's what it's mostly focused on. And I think that's what the point is like, when people go, this is woke or this is whatever, I think where those things fail is because they're cramming too many things, maybe.
100%.
And like, this show is cramming too much. So it's like, if it's just the woman that was on SNL that has the shammy, like, new age medicine place, and we just focus on her, now we can really go somewhere and we can really bite into it. But because it's her plus this other person plus, like, 5 different characters that all have a heavy, big story to tell, it all gets lost and it all gets rushed. And so when people go, we have a diverse cast, I think that's really the point of where it fails is, but you can't delve into any story. They all get shit on because they don't have time.
That is exactly my point. It's that I've been thinking. It's not that that effort to have representation is a bad thing. What happens is, in your effort to make sure there is representation, you're giving no one representation. You're giving no one a chance to say anything about themselves or who they are. Because if Agatha had gone down the road that we were talking about, where she's discovered all this stuff, she's got to go down the road, it turns into this Wizard of Oz thing where she meets the soap lady, and then she meets the security guard, and then she meets the whatever. that would be so much more interesting. But what we saw instead was, it was like, we need to tick all of our boxes as soon as possible.
Yeah.
Divvy out the lines as evenly as possible, and then make sure that everyone is represented, as opposed to, because the thing is, like race, gender, status, all that kind of stuff, those aren't bad things in film, because they create a sense of stakes, wanting, belonging. Like some of the greatest movies of all time, greatest series of all time, Roots, that was all about that. You know, it was all about the disparity between the slaves and non-slaves. It was that, and it wouldn't work if you decided to just make all the slaves a mix of races, because that doesn't fit. Not only does it not fit history, but also it doesn't create the same level of stakes that are involved to tell a good story.
Right. Yeah. If it's like, yeah, you have an African slave, and then you have an Irish person. That's
an Indian guy or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Like if you're trying to put the umbrella of colonialism, and you're going, oh, we need all these different voices. Yeah. One show, one project, one movie cannot do justice to all those voices.
Yeah.
They can do justice to maybe two. Three, if it's amazing.
But why do we have to do that? Like, make it about that. If we're gonna do a show about a witch in a Marvel show, just do that.
Piece of shit witch.
Yeah.
That wants her power back because she'll probably use it to do terrible things.
Yeah.
Like, that's the character.
Make that the point.
So we boil down to, who is Agatha? She's a trash human who has powers, who can suck, who can, if others blast their power at her,
just get that stuff blasted at her.
She can absorb it and blast it back.
I knew a girl like that.
There are blasters out there.
There's also suckers.
But yeah, no, I mean, I think to the point of too much representation dilutes it, and then because it's the Disney brand, we know they're not going to go so hardcore that we're going to be shocked by what happens. There's not going to be any shock, because...
See, that's such a good point, too. Like you said, with why you like a show like Agatha, it is because at least they're going...
the restraints.
At least they're, doing something, you know? At least they're shooting for something.
It's not another, I don't know, whatever. Like a thing that I've already seen before.
Yeah. But the thing is, where it fails is because of the casting and the desire to please everybody, you end up pleasing nobody. And because you have these characters who have no chemistry, have no charisma together, and have no storylines that, especially in this third episode where security guard lady suddenly meets her mom, who, by the way, just as a plot point, can you just, if you're going to cast somebody's mom, just cast her a little older? Because that lady, I think they're about the same age, and she looks a billion years older than her mom character. I get why they did it, but just help me along a little bit, because I'm a stupid idiot.
Right.
Help me along. Make her look like an old lady, or at least a mom-ish looking character.
Well, I mean, what I implied was that she's having a flashback, and maybe the mom is stuck on the road, and she hasn't aged for decades, right?
Yeah.
So
well, but don't cast Lucy Liu in that character, basically. I mean, the woman was gorgeous, and you're just like, what is going on?
Yeah, I think it's more like, if you're going into that world, then the daughter turns into a 9-year-old, and you go, oh, this is my trauma from when I was 9 and my grandma died and my mom freaked out and said, I have the power now and I'm gonna get cursed. I'm cursed and you're gonna be cursed. It's follow through with the idea, right?
You're right, though. I'm being very short-sighted in where the show is going. Because I just don't accept it in the moment. And when you don't accept it in the moment, how am I supposed to be okay with it down the road? But I also have your back in that they're not going all the way with it.
Like all these things, It's like they have Patti LuPone. They have like these amazing people that could really rock if they had their own time. And it's just rushed. It's rush. And,
well, why? Because they have too many characters.
Yeah.
Too many characters they're trying to pay attention to, which is the whole problem with the sequels. Too many characters of Star Wars that they were trying to pay attention to.
Yeah.
TV shows have this issue where they're trying to make everyone important, and no one is important at that point, you know? Yeah. And like I said in the second video, I think it was like, when you make everybody an a-hole, no one is, because now it's just a wash. You know, the only semi likable character is Teen, and he's even just kind of been pushed to the side all the time. Okay, so let's bring it around. We're going to take it home with one last point about Agatha all along that came to my head.
Here we go.
Do you remember the scene at the very end when Teen and security guard go into the home gym? And
where are we talking about?
So in Agatha all along, the last episode, the most recent episode 3. Okay. And so they go into the home gym, and it's right before she meets her mom inside the sauna.
Okay,
yeah. And so they walk in, and there's like towels, and there's a bike. They walk in, and in 1 second, she goes, "There's nothing here for us." She doesn't even look around. There's no time taken. And then he's like, "Eucalyptus, essential oils." And I was just like, what in the absolute fuck is going on? I don't know why essential oils make any sense. Why are we rushing the story so hard? And then 2 seconds later, she sees her mom in the sauna. I was just like, what is happening with this show? Right.
Yeah.
So overall, I think your point that you made was, let's just wash away all the bad things. The major sin here is that it's just rushed.
It's rushed.
There's no time taken for us to care or want to care or take time to care.
Which, it's I think all these things like want to have their cake and eat it too.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's kind of the thing. So it's like we rush through, again, the tropes that we have seen before. So they go, everybody getting the band together. Let's just get the band together. And let's just, why do we have to give a shit about motivations?
Yeah.
We'll drop in one line. We'll give them, you know what? We'll give them 3 lines.
Yeah, that should
to
work.
Give motivation. Blah, 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 blah. And then they'll be here. We have a coven. They'll go into the road. And here we are in the first challenge.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so I always get irritated when a franchise does a sequel and people that have not experienced, say, an Alien or a Terminator or whatever, there's a meta quality where all of a sudden they immediately get it because the writer and the producers go, they get it.
Right.
The audience has seen this thing, so the character doesn't have to go through. Although, the character has to go, what, there's a Terminator from the future?
So you get no journey because the audience already knows what's going on?
Yeah, so they truncate what the character has to go through because we, as the audience, have already seen it, been there, done that.
Right.
And so they throw it away and go, yeah, no one wants to see that. Let's move on to the juice, the steak, the meaty bit.
Which really begs the question, though, right? What are we doing? Why are we making movies like this then?
Right.
Why are we even making another Alien, Star Wars, Marvel movie if we're just going to keep moving on because everyone's seen it before? If you're going to do it, if you're doing what we've already seen, then why are we doing it again? You assholes.
It's an IP that can be trusted, and a new IP has no trust. It has like, why would you spend money on a new idea? You don't. Right. If you're a producer, why on earth would you spend money on a new idea? I get it. So we're stuck in this post-meta world where risks have no reason. Why on earth would you take a risk? And if you're going to do an IP, you got to hit all the blah, 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 blah. You have to hit all the things that people expect from it. And so, yeah, when I watch new content, I just go,
Yep.
I expect nothing from it. And if something excites me, like Godzilla X Kong,
Yeah. Which
sadly, I went to the theater and I watched Godzilla X Kong, and I went, this is ridiculous fun shit.
yeah.
I had a blast.
Universally loved by actual movie lovers. I haven't seen it yet, but I'm excited to see it.
It's dumb as fuck, but it's great. It's so wonderful because it knows what it is. That director was like, we're going to make, that dumb 60s, like,
great
Godzilla crap. I'm doing that, but with like a gazillion dollars.
The world
And
needs
you're
more
like,
of that.
Get it. And at the end of the day, it's about a mom and a mom who adopted an indigenous girl trying to connect with her and thinking she's going to leave her. That's what the movie's about, right? It hinges it on a very thin, simple premise. And then there's a monkey punching...
A lizard?
Monkeys punching lizards.
Yeah.
And that's it. And you go, I get it.
It's beautiful.
It's simple.
That's why Pacific Rim I liked so much, that first one. It was just
Rim
like,
is simple.
yeah, simple, funny, all the things, not complicated.
Just, if you're going to go big sci-fi, if you're going to go big CGI, keep it simple, stupid.
Yeah.
James Cameron, everyone pisses on Avatar, and I get it. You can piss on Avatar a day long, but it makes a gazillion dollars every time because James Cameron goes, yeah, it's in space and there's whatever and all this bullshit, but it's about kids moving to a new school. And then also there's alien Marines that are going to murder the parents.
He reimagines Sigourney Weaver as young and hot again. And that's a beautiful thing as well. You're like...
she's underage still. The next movie, she's maybe of age.
Okay. Was she only 60 in that one? Or yeah.
She's like 16.
Really?
In the second movie?
Her character is?
That character is like...
The lizard lady?
15, 16.
Oh. But they're maturing. Whatever they're... What was the race called? The Spookanis?
With their Arcturian. It's so bad.
Well, anyways, we didn't... Well, I hated Agatha, but you didn't hate it. And that's great. I am glad.
Now, again, I enjoy it because not that it does it well, but it's something else. I will take something else. Honestly, I don't give a shit as long as you're...
That's so funny because that's the worst reason to like anything, is because it's just something else. It's like, why do you love your girlfriend so much? I dated a lot of girls, but this one, she's just,
There's a reason.
Not them. Yeah.
In real life,
yeah,
I'm pushing potential girlfriends away because I go, But when I watch Disney products, I go, I'll settle. I'll settle for you.
You're more accepting of Disney products than of real women. Hey.
Yes.
That's good. Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Yes.
Because who cares? I have become the guy that's just like, did you enjoy that thing? Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
I
totally.
don't know. Whatever.
Hey, you walk out of Wolverine and
if you pluck at me,
Deadpool.
I'll tell you how it's a piece of shit. But
for now, it's fine. I liked.
Short.
Yeah.
Today will never happen again. So if I watch the thing today, I'm gonna try and enjoy it.
Definitely. I like your perspective.
There we go. That's why I'm leaving us on. That's my modus operandi.
So we should discuss Penguin at some point in time. You should watch that at some point.
One episode? How many episodes?
Just one. The second episode comes out on Sunday.
I did like the Batman movie.
Okay. Yeah.
I thought it maybe should have been like a 3-part show.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it breathed a lot.
Yeah. I didn't
But I didn't
love
hate
it.
I went in expecting to go,
Well,
and I didn't hate it.
yeah. So,
So
well,
I'll watch
be
it.
curious what you think about the
I don't
Penguin.
like crime dramas.
Oh no. Oh no.
I don't. Because it's too, like, real.
Yeah.
I like ridiculous, dumb bullshit.
Yeah.
To a point of, I'll take an Agatha over
True
the
Detective.
guy who is, like, avoiding tax evasion.
Right. I love The Accountant. So, yeah. I like it real.
No, you should like it real.
Who's that guy?
This is
Is that Cody?
Sinka. That is Sinka.
Oh, hello. I don't think I have a... No, I got everybody over in that. Well, I got...
This is, oh, yeah. I
Infinity
put up
Darth
Optimus
Vader.
Prime to
Yeah.
hide my... This is all Sinker.
Oh, it's all Sinker. Gotcha.
It's all Sinker. Spoiler alert. It was Sinker the whole time.
It was Sinker all along.
It was Sinker all along.
Title of this episode.
I did like their little song, though.
Well, the song was actually good, and I said that
Yeah.
in the second...
Because they're all
Yeah.
good singers.
Yeah. No, it was good. Well, all right, we'll end on this.
Let's end on a good note.
When it comes to oh no, I was going to bash it, but
Bash it.
no,
Bash it.
but the song is good. I really enjoyed it. It was kind of catchy, but
Yes.
but Catherine Hahn is literally chewing the scenery as she sings. She's so intense and so out of control. I was just you know, I'm not looking at everything from the perspective of like attraction or whatever, but it was so unattractive to watch her be like, she reminded me of, oh, you know what it was? Do you know that music video? Or it's not a music video, it's a scene from Matilda, and those girls are dancing in the orphanage.
Well, they're all like 12, right?
Yeah. You sent me a meme of it. I think it was like going along with like
Right.
9 Inch Nails or something like that. But they're just, so it reminded me of that.
Okay.
Yeah.
They're like dancing out of the school. Or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
Right.
And so when she's singing, it looks exactly the same to me, where it's just like little kids like trying too hard, where they're just going like,
Okay.
it was just too much. It was too
I mean,
much.
yeah, she went all in on that song.
Yeah.
And again, if
Didn't
we
need to.
set up that she thinks it's bullshit, like, right? I think that's the way to go into it. If she goes, it's bullshit, but if all these ladies are going to buy into the road, sure.
Mhm.
And then she's like going all in on the song, then we as the audience know she's full of shit, right? And so I think that element is missing.
Yeah, I would love to get to that point of nuance, but I can't, because it's just so much.
And again, and then again, because all those characters just show up, and we go, why would they show up? They know she's a piece of shit. They know they can't trust her, but here they are.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think we've solved the plot in that way.
Yeah.
Where if it's Wizard of Oz, she's on the road, and they've all been trapped in the road. So they could be from Timbuktu. They could be from anywhere on Earth, but because she's so old and they're so old, they have all crossed paths.
Right.
But she could be like, I haven't seen you in 200 years. What have you been up to, idiot? And and slowly it gets revealed that the SNL chick is like an imposter selling health, whatever.
Because we have no idea how old even Not Wiccan is. We don't even know how long was he trapped in a 50s, a 60s, a 70s, or wherever they came. I guess he came to pass in like the 80s comedy version of WandaVision.
Which one? The boy?
Scarlet Witch's kid.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but we don't know how long she was living that fantasy.
Right.
So we don't know how long these people have existed in this world.
Right.
And that's pretty damn cool. And it's been wasted.
Yeah.
with a lot
But
of
yeah, that would
nonsense.
have been the better device, is because then literally you could have a woman that's been there for a century,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
100 years, and that's how desperate she is. That woman that's been trapped for 100 years sees Agatha and goes, I can't trust her, but I've been here for 100
Yeah.
years.
Yeah. So let's go.
That's like Patty LuPone. Like, Patty LuPone's character should have been stuck there forever. And she's just going, I'm reduced to trusting Agatha. I hate myself.
Yeah.
I hate you. It's motivation times 10. It's character. It's everything. It's conflict.
Yeah.
Everything you want.
But instead, everyone's connection is fringe and full of contentiousness and isn't
not earned.
earned.
Nothing is earned.
Earn it.
Yeah.
Earn it.
Okay, there we are.
Hey,
Saying why.
earn it, edge it, blast it. That's what I say. Well, with that, thank you for visiting the Smoking Hot Nerds and our first live stream in 2.5 years. That's there we go. Don't you finger blast the audience. Yeah. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for watching.